Hello and welcome back. I wonder how many realise that this year, 1987, is the International Year of Shelter for the Homeless. I can recall reading about it earlier on in the year. My next guest, Gary Sargent, was commissioned to do an article on the homeless, become a vagrant himself, in the streets of Sydney. That article went to press in one of Australia's leading newspapers, but out of it came this book, 3 Nights on Nowhere Street. He wanted to expand on his experience, so we have him in the studio this morning. Let's say good morning to him. Hello, Gary.
Good morning, Maureen.
So you were a vagrant for 3 days.
Yeah. It was pretty tough, pretty interesting. I mean, you're suddenly in a different world. They're a different planet.
Yes.
And yet it's part of our city, part of our world.
Yes, it was assignment that came out of the blue, as the saying goes.
Yeah, I was just sitting at home working on my word processes and suddenly got a call from the Times on Sunday, and it was about something else, but I suddenly was offered this to go on the street, and the catch was I had to be out on the street by like 3 o'clock that afternoon in 3 hours' time, and because of that I was put in the position that a lot of people could have been put in if they'd suddenly been evicted from home or thrown out of their home by their boyfriend or parents or something. So I was suddenly evicted. I didn't know anything about being homeless, where the refuges were, where to get meals, anything like that.
Yes, you must have had some feelings of apprehension.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't jump up and down saying, wow, this is a great assignment, I really want to do this. I thought about it, you know, and we discussed it for a while, and I decided that I wanted to do it. I wanted to, because it was International Year of Shelter for the Homeless.
What did you take with you?
Not very much. I wore old painting clothes, the sort of clothes you have around that you keep just for painting jobs, and an old army greatcoat and a beaten-up haversack with not very much in, a spare wind cheater and a toothbrush, no toothpaste. My only ID was a Medicare card, and that was about it.
Why the toothbrush and no toothpaste? Do vagrants have toothbrushes?
Well, yeah, they usually do have toothbrushes, and in fact a lot of them have toothpaste too. It depends on there's so many different sorts of levels of vagrants. So the ones that look after themselves, like the Aboriginals, they have toiletries, but some of the worst cases don't have much.
Did you meet them all the types?
Yeah, well, I did meet a big range of them. I mean, obviously there's so many different types of homeless, but I met the kids up the cross, and I met people, girls that had just been thrown out of their home by their boyfriends, and I spent a lot of time drinking with the Aboriginals. Yeah. And I met people with mental disabilities and physical disabilities and alcoholics.
Did you sleep on the streets for the 3 nights, or did you find a shelter?
Well, the first night I ended up drifting into a shelter because the Mission Beat van came past, and then I spent one night sleeping in a park with some Aboriginals. They looked after me. They said, this is a safe park to sleep with us. They let me a blanket. They were great.
A safe park? Why, is it dangerous out there?
Oh yeah, well, when they said safe, you'd have to say safe in inverted commas, because somebody else who was sleeping out got stabbed that night just near where we were sleeping. So
is that right?
In the area, yeah. So.
And did you say they shared their blanket with you?
Yeah, they were really great to me. The Aboriginals, they really look after each other. It's actually better in a way to be down and out and black than down and out and white, because the blacks really have more of a social network, and if the old Aboriginals are drinking too much, then they'll abuse them. They'll try to get them into detox, and if the young ones start hitting the pills, usually misled by white kids, then they'll sort of abuse them and try and keep them off the pills.
Yes. How did it actually affect you? I mean, naturally, Gary, you wanted to write this book. Is that feeling still with you? Because it all happened March this year. Yeah,
well, it is very strong. I mean, if I read out loud some of the passages from the book, I can feel my voice choking and stuff, because it really does flood back. It's really like suddenly starting to live somebody else's life for 3 days, because suddenly you've got nothing, you've got no money that you can live off, you've got nowhere to stay, you're dependent on the mercy of strangers. Plans go out the window. You're just worried about where you're going to sleep that night and where your next meal's going to come from and things like that. So you don't worry about what did you do all day? Just walk around? Well, yeah, I drifted around. I drank with the Aboriginals. You just tend to drift. You go with the flow, and that's what happens, I think, a lot with the homeless, is the ability to plan their life sort of atrophies, because there's no sort of basis there for you to plan your life on. So you just drift and do what you measure time only in where you spent the last night and where you're going to spend the next night. What makes people a vagrant? Well, everyone has a different story, right? So you get people who were like, you get the kids who had to leave home, their father raped them, or they had huge difficulties at home. You get other people who had major business you know, collapses. You get people who were in Vietnam. You get Vietnam veterans who, you know, have nightmares every night. And you get the Aboriginals who often, in sort of an inherited state, they sort of, their parents were virtually homeless and then they sort of followed the pattern.
Do you think that it would help if more did what you did?
Well, I put a big strain on the refugees trying to cope with all the extra meals. It would help if a few politicians went out and did that and got to know them as individuals rather than cliched ideas about what they are. Help people, I mean, obviously it's dangerous out there. I was threatened and people were stabbed near where I slept and that sort of thing. I mean, read the book is probably safe a bit, you know.
Yes. We were discussing about the International Year of the Child, the International Year of the Disabled. That has been, they were great successful years. This, in actual fact, hasn't been a success. Is it because the homeless are a minority group throughout the world? You've categorised people, haven't you?
There's a growing number of homeless. We're seeing, in a way, the democratisation of homelessness. We're seeing whole families becoming homeless and things like that. So it's a growing number. It's a growing problem. I mean, in America, there's 3 million homeless, which is the population of New Zealand. So it is that sort of thing. Just we're uncomfortable hearing about the people in pain around the corner. We'd rather hear about the ones that are hungry overseas, I think. So that's one of the problems.
Yes. Gary Sargent, thank you very much, and good on you for writing 3 Nights on Nowhere Street. It's a Fontana paperback, which is a William Collins publication, and you'll find it at your favourite bookshop. And we've been speaking to the gentleman that went out and actually did it. Don't forget, this is the International Year of Shelter for the Homeless. Thank you.